Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to see what are matrices, data frames, and factors. Right? We have seen some points in last lecture as vectors, list, something about variables. Right? So that was the first half part. Today we'll complete these 3 points with respect to matrices. What are matrices? We'll see. Then we'll see what are data frames and factors. Right, so I'll create a new file and select an R script, and we'll start writing our script in this window. So we'll start first with matrix. So basically matrix looks like an array what we have studied in last session, but matrix will be a rectangular data set, right? And it is created with the help of vectors, right? We used vectors in our last session. So matrix is created with the help of vectors. We use matrix function, right? As we use array, we used matrix function to create a matrix, and there are several operations which can be performed on matrix, such as arithmetic operations also. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division can be directly performed on a matrix, right? So let's see how to create it. As we saw how to create an array, similarly we'll see how to create it a matrix. So I'll take a variable to store as mat, and I'll call the function as matrix, right? And we will use a vector, so we will concatenate all those elements. So first we'll take some characters as an input, then we'll see how it can work on numbers, because we are going to perform those arithmetic operations. So we write it as n row equal to number of rows, comma, and column is 3, and how it should be sorted. So it is by row, make it as true. Okay. After this, print the matrix. Okay, so I'll execute this code. Matrix contents are loaded. You can see here, right? So this will be in the form, and you can see here. See, alphabets are accordingly row. Whatever we have entered as A will be first here, then B, and then C, B, A. Right? So it will be printing here accordingly. Right? So this is how we create a matrix with these alphabets, right? Now let's see by using numbers so that we can perform different operations here. So I'll replace all these characters by some numbers. So I'll take numbers over here. Okay, we keep the rest of things same, and again use this function. So I'll load it. So now matrix has a particular range of series, and now what we're going to see how it looks like. See, we are having 11, 13, 15, 12, 14, and 16, right? So it is a 2 by 3 matrix, right? So unlike vector and list, R provides a function which creates matrix automatically, right? So by just defining this function, you can tell R that you're going to create a format in this way, and that will be representing it as a matrix, right? Now let's check out the syntax. I'll write it in the notepad. Now, if you're going to study matrix, now there are some set of syntax, or you can say as rules, wherein you need to represent a matrix. So basically we use this function of matrix, right? But we need some vector elements, right? Then we need how much row, how many columns, right? How the data will be displayed, either by its row or by column, right? What should be the dimension names, and so on, right? So there are several parameters where we need to have a look at. So first is data, right? So data is the argument in the matrix which represents what kind of data you're going to use, whether it is a set of elements as vector, whether it is a list, or whether it is an external file which you're going to represent over here. So first part will be as an giving the input vector, right, or the data elements of a matrix. Second will be n row. N row is the argument which defines the number of rows we want to create in the matrix, right? Similarly, there will be third as n column. So this defines number of columns we want to create in the matrix. Then by row. So what does by row defines? See, it is a logical parameter, right? So if it is true, then the input vector elements, what we have entered in data, will be arranged by row, right? Otherwise it will be false, right? If you want it column wise, either mention by row equal to false, or even if you do not mention it, it will be taking it column wise, right? So explicitly, if you want your data to be displayed row wise in your matrix, then you need to write it as by row equal to true. Okay, so this will convert your data elements into row wise matrix. So whatever number of rows and columns you have given, accordingly it will do it, right? If you do not want it, you want it by column, there's no such method as by col. Just you need to do by row as false. Okay, this is one method. Or you remove this, no need of writing anything. So it will consider default that the elements of this data, whatever you have taken here, has to be displayed in column wise, right? And the last parameter here, I'll undo this, right? So you can write in this way, and last one as dim name, right? Those are dimension names. Dimensions of rows and columns will be providing some name as you studied in arrays, right? So even in matrix, you can give name to your matrix as well as rows and columns. Okay. Now we'll see by providing some range over here, instead of giving this set of elements, we'll try to use some specific range starting from one element to another element. I'll copy this matrix and I'll paste over here, and I'll make some changes in this matrix itself, right? So I'll remove these elements and we'll start from 5 to 16. I have a specific range. 16 will be 12, then rows will be 4 by 3. See, you can see here we are having elements starting from 5 and ending to 16, right? So by row I have made it as false. So it will be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 to 16. So it is column wise now, right? Even if you remove this, it will be arranging your elements row wise, right? See the difference? I'm removing that code itself. This is the older one matrix which we where we used that parameter by row, and here what I done is I have removed that entire thing and compiled again. You can see by comparing these two matrices, both output are same, right? So it takes the default for displaying your data elements within a matrix. Now let's see how to define the rows and columns of your matrix, right? We saw it this technique in while building up the arrays, right? It will be same in matrices, just the function name will be different, right? So we'll take as row names, and we need to concatenate those rows. So we are having 4 rows and we'll consider 3 columns, right? This is fourth one. Then we'll go for column names. Load this into memory. Column also loaded. Now we'll use the function and use another variable as mat1. We'll use the function of matrix. Okay, concatenate it from some specific range. Define the rows, number of rows, and row. It will be how many we have taken. Rows are 4, right? Sorted by row. And dimension names, provide it as list. So what list we are going to provide it here as row names and column names. Okay, and these two. After we need to print it as mat1. Okay, so I'll create this matrix and print it. See here we are having 4 rows and 3 columns, right? 4 rows and 3 columns, and it will be sorted by row. Okay, so this is by the row 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 19, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Kisho, yeah, by default, it goes by column wise. Even if you are not mentioned it, it will be seeing how much data elements you are having, right? And accordingly, it will be giving you the display of this output. Suppose you are not having elements here, we are having see 4 into 3. So I'm having 12 different elements. Even if I'm not having 12 different elements, suppose I stop here at 10, right? So instead of 3 colon 14, my range is 3 colon 10. Now after 10, what will happen? It won't give you an error. What will do is it will go in a circular manner, right? After 10, there are no more elements because this range is over now, right? There are no more elements present in this data variable. So what it does, it goes for a circular manner because we have mentioned there will be 4 rows and 3 columns. So I need to fill this 13, 5, 8, 11, 14, right? So I'll start again with my first number. My first number after 10, defining of this series, is again starting with 3. So here it will be 3, here it will be 6, 9, 12, 4, right? So it will be in a circular manner. So every element of this matrix with rows and with columns will be filled up. Okay. Okay, now with the next part of matrix, if you want to access any specific element, right? I've taken a grid of these rows and columns. What if I want to uh, access any specific element in the matrix? So there are three different ways to access the element. First, we can access the element which represents the nth row and nth column. Second, we can access all the elements of the matrix which are present on the nth row, and similarly all the elements in the matrix which are present at the nth column, right? So we can go in this way as row wise, or this entire as column wise, or a particular element from the matrix, right? In rows and columns term wise, right? So we'll see these three methods of accessing a matrix. Now let's see if we want to access a third row and second column element. So I'll write as print, what is my matrix name, as mat1, right? Square bracket, third row comma second column. See, third row and second column will be 10 here. You can see on the console also it is printed. Now what if I want to print the entire third column, right? What I'll do, matrix name, square bracket, third row and comma, and no parameter for columns. So we'll be not specifying which column you want, otherwise it will be selecting a column and a row and defining a particular element of that position, right? So I'm not defining any position of column. So this will represent you entire row here. Row number 3 is 9, 10, 11, right? Here it is printed as 9, 10 and 11. Now if you want to access a particular column, same, print matrix 1 comma 2. This is column but representing it in terms of row. So this is 4, 7, 10, 13. 4, 7, 10, 13, column number 2. We can also modify, right? If I want to update a particular element in that entire set of grid of rows and columns, I want to specify a particular element by modifying it, right? So without redefining the entire matrix, I can assign, modify, insert or replace a new element in the matrix, in the same matrix mat1. I'll show you. First mat1, then which element I want to, 3, 2, and assign the new value, right? So 3, 2 here will be 10. So here 10, this matrix will be, value will be replaced by 20. I'll print this. See here, 3, 2 initially was 10. Now after redefining that entire matrix, only a specific element 10 is being replaced by 20, right? You can see the differences between these two matrices. First we had this entire grid, right? Here the value was 10. After replacing it with 20, this value got replaced and entire grid is the same, right? See, matrix is very essential when you go for data analysis, right? This representation of matrix you think of as an Excel sheet where you will be having some number of rows and some number of columns defining for labels and features, right? So if you try to understand this kind of matrix, this grid analysis, then you will be very easy to understand how data can be used for how this matrix can be used for data analysis purpose, right? So apart from this relational operators in matrix, you can also see what we have some different elements. So we have seen that we can replace a particular element. Right now we'll see that if we check those elements which are equal to 1 and only choose those, right? I'll show you here. If I use the matrix name first, then matrix 1 equal to 11, find those elements which are equal to 11 and replace it with 0. See, there was one element which is equal to 11, this is here, okay? And what we're trying to do is we are trying to tell the entire grid that wherever you find 11, replace it by 0. So this is here at this position, row number 3, column number 3, right? So it is replaced by 0. So first we saw by specific index, right? And now what we're seeing by value. So wherever you find 11, replace that position by 0. Right? Similarly, we can also see some greater than, less than, right? So now you can see here, if I'm having 12 at this position and I'll replace something as mat1 greater than 12, set that to 0. Load this. Greater than 12, we are having two values. Result can be displayed here. So we are having 20 here, 13 and 14. See, instead of 20, 13 and 14, it has been replaced by 0, right? So this can be applied, conditions can be applied in this term also, right? So these are some of the operations. Similarly, you can go for addition, subtraction, multiplication. You need to take at least two matrices. We are having only one here. So we'll see that. Before that, we can add some rows and columns also, right? Here we have seen a grid of 4 by 3. What if I want to add a column or a row in this entire data set, right? So I can do that also. There are two methods to do such. First is cbind and another is rbind, right? So cbind and rbind functions are used to add a column and a row respectively, right? So whenever you see bind, it will be binding the new row or new column to the existing matrix, right? So cbind defines binding column, rbind defines binding rows, right? C and R will define columns and rows. Now I'll write it by binding rows, rbind for matrix 1 itself. We give the elements, right? What elements we have in 3 rows or 3 columns, 17, 18 and 19. Well, here so it is added. You can see here fifth by row, it is 17, 18 and 19 added here. Row is added, rbind. Then for columns, right, cbind. Matrix 1, concatenate the elements. And I'll execute it. See, I'm having column 4, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right? Now names are not defined here because initially what we have given only 4 rows names and column 3 names, right? So if I want to add, I can again go for dim names and define the 4th column and 5th row. There's a very easy method for going this transpose of matrix. Just this function is used to create transpose. Use this method and the matrix name which you want to transpose, right? So rows and columns will be transformed. Now there are 4 rows and 3 columns, right? So those 3 rows and 4 columns, but these names will also be interchanged. Now if I want to change the entire dimensions, right, what now we were using was 4x3 matrix, then we added some rows, then we added some columns. Now I want to change the structure of this entire grid of matrix, right? So I can change that as dim matrix 1. So by how many? 1, 12. Right, so this will change my dimensions. We'll see the matrix. See here, 1/12. Similarly, you can go for the opposite one also. I want 12 rows and only 1 column. You can take any grid and change the dimensions. See? Okay, there's a pop-up that we are having 10 minutes. So I need to complete matrices, factors, and data frames today. Right, so similarly, see, you can create operations such as addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. For that, what you need to do is you need to take 2 matrices. So you can take this as homework as mat 1. You define some elements here, take some range in this C, define your rows, define your columns, and specify if you want to go for by sorting by rows or by columns. And similarly for matrix 2, you use same logic and define the matrix. Use print method for mat1 and mat2, right? And then go for addition and subtraction, multiplication and division. So you perform these operations on your own. Okay, so there's an important concept next coming up as data frames. Right? Data frames are very important because whatever external files as an data set we are going to see, we are going to manipulate in coming sessions, we'll be using matrices as well as data frames, right? So data frame is a 2-dimensional array like structure, right? Or you can think it as a table, right? So you can see here, if I double click on this, you'll be seeing a grid value, right? So this can be my rows, this can be my columns. So based on this data, I can easily identify where to add, where to search, which column to be specified, right? What does V1, V2, and V3 represent in terms of what data I'm going to use. So it could be a table in forms of columns which contains value of some variable, right? And rows which contains a set of values for each column. So this matrix or this table may help us in many ways, right? So a matrix can contain one type of data, right? Whereas a data frame can contain different data types, such as can have numeric, character, and factor also, right? Together bunched up in a single data frame, right? So there are some of the properties of data frames that the column name should not be empty, right? As we saw a table, there were V1, V2, and V3. So those names must not be empty. The row name should be unique, right? You cannot have row names with same name if you are having row names. Otherwise, you can go for unique ID as 1, 2, 3, and so on. Third one, the data which is stored in a data frame can be a factor also. We'll see what factor is. We are having a next point here. It could be numeric and a character type also, right? So it could be mixed up. And lastly, each column contains the same number of data items, right? So a data frame must have each column which has same number of data items. If data is missing, in upcoming sessions we'll be seeing how we can see that if rows and numbers are not same, we'll be providing some variable as NA, right? So we need to fill up those gaps by NA, not even by providing 0, because that would affect for some calculations, right? So NA will define that no value is present here. If we write 0 while taking a mean, median, minimum, maximum, right, these kind of calculations, there would be some error into it, right? So let's see how to create a data frame. If this session ends in between, use the same link to join this session again. Okay. So let's create some details about employee using data frames. So I'll go for employee data, right? I'll create a data frame, data dot frame, right? You can see the syntax. It will pop up in an instance. Right. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an employee ID. We'll take 5 data, so range from 1 to 5. Then employee's name, so we have taken 5 names, comma, enter again their salaries. Okay, so we can go for characters, specifying range by taking float values also. So we'll provide some salary over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 salaries entered. Then according to their joining date, right? So there's a specific format you can write it as dot date, right? So this is the format of how you write dates. I will bind it. There's a format 20, I think it is 12, 1st January, and 1. So this is how you write dates. One, two, three, 4. Right, we need to take one more. Right, so here it is. It's completed. Then we need to take strings as factors equal to false. Close the syntax here, right? And let's print it. Print emp dot data. Right, so I'll load this first. The entire, I see some error is there. Right, so it is loaded. And you can see here we are having employee ID, name, its salary, and their joining date, right? In this way, and show here programmatically print this data. See, you can see here everything is being printed over here. So this is how we create a data frame, right? Now, what does data frames tell about us? That we are having this number of data. We can easily add a particular row and a column also, right? So you can check it by str function. Str function gives you the entire complete information of what data frame you are going to use, right? So str and your data frame name, it is emp.data. What I'm having 5 observations of 4 variables, right? So my 4 variables are ID, name, salary, joining date. And what are my 5 observations? These are my 5 rows in terms of observations. So my first is employee ID. Range starts from as an integer from 1 to 5, right? I'm having employee name as character, and these are the characters. Salary as an column name, and it is a number, and these are the values. Joining date in terms of date format, and the format is this, right? So you need to specify everything about what data frame you are going to use.